Hi, my name's Vince Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about The King and I, the 1956 adaptation of the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, starring Yul Brynner, Deborah Kerr, and directed by Walter Lang. And I'd like to go through this film just exploring the structure of the plot really, as well as some of the themes that crop up in it. So I suppose if you could sum up the kind of message behind this film in a sentence, it would be kind of mutual love and respect forged over vastly different cultures. And you can kind of break the film up into three acts. The film is set in the early 1860s, and we're introduced to Anna Leon Owens and her son Louis, and they're on a ship. They're about to dock into Bangkok in Siam, or Thailand as it is now, and Anna is about to start a new job. She's been hired by the King of Siam, Mongkut, to teach his children and to kind of educate them in Western ways, I guess. And Anna and Louis are greeted at the ship by this rather stern character, the Kralahome, who is like this, I suppose, Prime Minister for the King. And it's here we hear the song I Whistle a Happy Tune. Both Anna and Louis are a bit nervous, and Anna's telling Louis that if they whistle, things will be a bit less scary. Then they arrive at the palace, and Anna witnesses the King standing in a very stately posture at the end of this vast hall. He is accepting a gift from Burma, and the gift is a young lady, Tuptim. And Tuptim has been escorted there by Lun Tha, who is a kind of emissary, but also in love with Tuptim. And she's in love with him, but tragically they have to part because Tuptim is now going to be part of the king's kind of harem. Now Anna knows her own mind. She's not going to be a pushover, and she demands to see the king even though he's not in the mood, and she's inquiring about her accommodation. She wants to live in a house outside the palace, whereas the king wants her to live in the palace, and there's this kind of argument, this tension that simmers between the two, really through most of the film, concerning accommodation. Anyway, the king seems to win this battle, and then Anna's introduced to the king's wives, and then their children. And in this lovely scene, this parade of children, royalty are wheeled out in front of Anna. She meets each one in turn, but there's even more children which we don't meet, and Anna's going to be teaching them. Now Tuptim, this girl who's been given to the king from Burma, she's not treated nicely by the other wives. They seem to bully her because of where she's from. Anna seems to take her under her wing, and Tuptim reveals that she is in love with Luntha, and she can't bear to be separated from him. And this provokes Anna to share something of her past story. Her beloved husband has passed away. Anna is a widow, but she still has very fond memories of him. And we hear the song Hello Young Lovers. She thinks back to when she met her husband. So here there seems to be a natural break in the film, and we're into Act 2. Act 2 is really concerned about Anna and the king getting to know each other a bit more. A relationship of some kind seems to develop between them. Act 2 though begins with the king singing a puzzlement, where he kind of marvels and puzzles over this new world which is being created around him. Quite a charming moment in the film. And then Anna starts to teach the children a geography lesson, And this is where the famous song Getting to Know You comes in. The most instantly recognisable song in the score. Another theme is introduced here because the king and Anna discuss slavery. The king's power is based on slaves. He seems to be open to the idea of making changes in this area at some level. And Anna, of course, is vehemently opposed to slavery. And the Kralahome, he kind of represents the old Siam. He wants things to stay as they are. There's this tension between him and Anna. Anna is this kind of progressive force there. There's this really funny scene where Anna is called to the king's private chambers in the middle of the night because he is puzzling over the book of Genesis, and he is kind of querying the fact that the world was made of days, according to Moses, who traditionally wrote Genesis, and Anna is like, it's got a bit more of a modern take on things. But then, somewhat hilariously, the king decides he wants to dictate a letter to Abraham Lincoln, because Abraham Lincoln, of course, this is during the American Civil War, and the king wants to support Lincoln in his fights against slavery by sending male elephants over there. And Anna, of course, suggests maybe a female might be a good idea if they're going to breed. Now, Anna arranges here for Tuptim and Lunthar to meet in this kind of enchanted Siamese garden. We have the song We Kiss in the Shadow. And then the king and Anna have this big row about the accommodation issue. It seems to come to a head here. Despite all his promises, Anna still hasn't got her house. Then, via Lady Tiang, the king's kind of first wife, Anna is summoned to the king again to advise him about how he should welcome the ambassador, the British ambassador to Siam. The king wants Siam to be shown as this civilised place, and he's worried that the king and his court are going to be seen as barbarians by the British. And we have the song Something Wonderful here. This act ends with this rather striking scene with the king leading these Buddhist prayers in a shrine, and Anna being assured that she will receive her house. There seems to be another natural break in the film when we're into Act 3, the final act. And this is a remarkable act, and things seem to really come to a head here in a variety of ways. These themes we've already discussed seem to reach a fevered pitch here. The ladies, the king's wives, are getting ready for the arrival of the British ambassador and his party. And Anna dances with one of the ambassador's friends who she's known for many years. At one time there may have been a fledgling romance between the two of them in the past. And the king sees them dancing and he's jealous. He's clearly got some feelings for Anna by this point. And they have this lavish banquet. And it's here that Tuptim comes into her own. A bit earlier on in the film, she's revealed to speak English fairly well, and she particularly loves Uncle Tom's Cabin, the anti-slavery novel by Harriet Beecher Stowe. And Tuptim manages to choreograph and narrate this amazing kind of Siamese ballet stroke stage production of Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's really marvellous, and the guests are really impressed with this lavish spectacle, but the king is perhaps noticing the anti-slavery message in there, which of course resonates with Tuptim, because she of course is a slave essentially. So after this production that Tuptim runs off with Lunthar. The king then gives Anna a ring and they discuss their different opinions on the role of women. Here the king and Anna dance a polka. They really seem to be coming close and maybe falling in love with each other. And we have the song Shall We Dance? Now Tuptim is captured and she's brought before the king, and custom and justice demands that she be whipped, which the Kralahome is keen for the king to carry out. And the king wants to show he's strong, but he just can't whip her. He's kind of paralysed by the conflicting beliefs in his heart at this point, between his more traditional and his progressive side, which was spurred on by Anna. So he can't whip her, but it's here that somewhat cruelly Tuptim is told that Lunthar is dead. He drowned in a river. Anna's had enough now. She just wants to go. She gives the ring back to the king in disgust at Tuptim's treatment, and she wants to get out of Siam on the next boat with her son Louis. As she prepares to leave, a few weeks later, she's told that the king is dying. And in the closing scene of the film, Anna sees the king in his deathbed, surrounded by his children, including his heir, the prince. And as he instructs the prince about kingship and the prince ponders about what he will do, Anna decides that she will stay after all and to help Siam move on after the king's death. The King and I is, some people might say it's, obviously it's very dated, it's of its time, the 50s. You couldn't imagine a film like this being made now with, I suppose, current sensibilities. The idea that the British or the West are a civilising influence on a country like Thailand is not politically correct. But, it's 1950s. It's a lovely film, and it's got some very powerful themes in it. There's this tension between tradition and custom, and the changing world, and perhaps changing ideas. The old ways are represented by the Kralahome, the kind of chief minister of the king, and the new ways by Anna. And the king is this kind of character who knows he's on a pivotal point of history in the 19th century. Part of him is still very much entrenched in custom, but part of him seems to want to move on. So he's this rather conflicted character in the middle. The idea of slavery is really well portrayed in this film. The idea of Tuptim making the case for the evil of slavery through her production and through Uncle Tom's Cabin, and the references to Abraham Lincoln, and then the ironic way that the whole Siam seems to be built on slavery. I think that's very well done, as is the kind of general clash of cultures idea between the kind of Judeo-Christian West and the Buddhist East. Yeah, I think The King and I is a really lovely film. Perhaps some of the songs aren't as memorable as they are in other Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. But I do like the music in the overture, and I think Getting to Know You is a really lovely song. I absolutely adore the scene of Tuptim's production of Uncle Tom's Cabin. That is just absolutely sensational, the way it's staged, the costumes. And it's so different to the rest of the film, and it's just got such a high artistic quality, that scene. It's just beautiful. The dancing, the way it's narrated, the use of fabrics and costume. It's a very stylised form of expression. It's just absolutely wonderful. Presumably it's not particularly authentic, I don't know, but it's just absolutely terrific as a piece of cinema. It's like that play within a play idea, and it's absolutely beautifully done. And the relationship between the king and Anna is very touching, and as in the best relationships, has the kind of falling outs and the makings ups, and you just realise by the end there is this incredible bond between the two of them. It's not like crudely portrayed as like this kind of ordinary romantic relationship, perhaps, which you'd normally expect. There's something far deeper, far more profound in their relationship. So The King and I, perhaps an overly familiar classic, often put on at Christmas time, that kind of thing. But if you haven't seen it, or you haven't seen it for a long time, check it out again, because it really is, I think, a very lovely and moving film with some very deep themes in it, portrayed in such a charming way. Thanks for watching, and it's just a brief slideshow about narrative structure and the themes of this movie. Bye.